What's going on, moviegoers? If you're new to the channel, my name is Christian. Welcome to Zero Productions. All right, you guys, I just saw Wolfman, written and directed by Lee Winnell. Now, some of you guys remember his work from like Insidious or the Saw film, or, you know, his reimagining of The Invincible Man in 2020, which I really enjoyed, how he modernized that iconic Universal monster. I thought it was a brilliant idea. So when, it was announced that he was going to be writing and directing a Wolfman film, the hype was real. I was excited. I was like, oh, absolutely. Then the trailer came out. I was like, okay, this is pretty good. And then we got that whole Universal Studios Hollywood Horror Nights thing, and everybody was like, oh my God, please don't let that be the design. And everybody was frantic. Everybody was worried, including myself. So what did I think about Wolfman? I enjoyed myself. I thought it was very entertaining. Some of the themes of being a parent, being a husband, definitely relatable because I am a parent and I am, a husband. So I understand the themes and I connected in some kind of way. The pacing of the film felt good. When things were going, they were really going. There was never a dull moment in the movie for me, like at all. Like I found myself thoroughly, hooked to the screen the entire duration of the movie, which is great. No dull moments. The scares were really good. There was a couple of times where I was like, oh God, no, it's coming. Like, it got to me a couple of times. I'll admit, you know what I mean? And I went to go see it alone. So I was on, the very end of the row, next to nobody. And I was like, God damn, this is terrifying. So the scares were definitely there. The themes were there. The acting, I thought, was really great. What's his name? Christopher Abbott was really good as the lead of this film. Julia Gardner, can't go wrong with her. Fantastic. You guys really want to know what I thought about the Wolfman design? Let's jump into it. The Wolfman design as a whole, I didn't love it. I think for me, that is what knocks the film down a couple of points, was the design. I appreciate what they were trying to do. This is a reimagining, a retelling of the story, which is really interesting to me because they never really called this like a Wolfman. It wasn't really a curse. It was like you were infected. So there was some history behind, this particular figure that was in the woods in Oregon, which was interesting to me. I was like, okay, a little different, and the folklore of it all, there are different names for it, Face of the Wolf or whatever. I think that was like the closest thing we got to like an actual Wolfman, of them saying it. But I was like, okay, I appreciate that. It's a little bit different. I understand it. The whole 30-year jump was kind of weird to me. They had to show the backstory between, the dad and the son or whatever, the lead actor. I forgot his name in the film. I'm drawing a blank right now. Sorry. But that was a little odd to me. I was like, oh, wow, 30 years? That's a big, massive jump, But when things get going, they get going, So I loved how they did all of the practical effects of the film. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a great homage to all of the, iconic, transformations that's come before this film. Even Michael Jackson's Thriller, you guys. You go back and look at that. I think, what's his name? Stan Winston did that. And that shit was great. So I love the practical elements of it. There was like no CGI like, some of these films like Van Helsing did, with their Wolfman, that werewolf design. I really appreciated that from a filmmaking standpoint. It is so beautiful. It's so artistic. I was like, yeah, that's what I love. So, when he started transforming, you really felt it. And I love the perspective of seeing him transform through the perspective of himself. So him slowly going into this transformation, he could no longer speak. That was terrifying to me. And he could no longer understand certain things. Absolutely wild to me. I was like, oh, we've never seen it from this perspective. Like, that was cool. And they seeing like the hearing, the sound editing was absolutely wonderful in this film. The sound editing was so good. So good, you guys. I was like, okay, whoever did the sound editing, tip my hats off because it was fantastic. Fantastic, you guys. I really enjoyed myself with that. But like I said, from the perspective of the dad, of him transforming, him, from like the POV kind of, right? What is he seeing when he's transforming? Everything's extremely lit. Everything's bright. It was so, I was like, damn, and he can hear everything. Like, absolutely super far. You know, there was this one particular scene in the movie where there was a spider crawling around upstairs in the, in the attic or whatever. And I thought it was the other Wolfman trying to get in. I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh my God. No. It turned out to be the spider, climbing on the wall because he has these enhanced, senses, I go back to like fucking Teen Wolf or whatever, when he was looking for the dope or whatever in the garage. The enhanced senses was really fascinating to me. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is pretty dope. I would have liked a little bit more of the backstory of, the original Wolfman. Because spoiler alert, you guys, huge spoiler. The main character and his family, right? They live in the city. He finds out his dad's dead, right? And they have a farm in Oregon. They go back to the farm or whatever. And then that's when everything starts to pick up. And, he's there to move everything out of his dad's house. I wanted a little bit more of the backstory of the original werewolf. Because as it turned out, the wolf that attacked them was his father. So his father wasn't missing for all those years. His father encountered that original Wolfman. And that was his main objective. So at the beginning of the movie, he's with his son or whatever. And, it turns out he was out there for different reasons and different purposes. So he was looking for this thing. So you automatically, you're putting your son, your family at risk for your own selfish desires. But then it turns out, and I like how it really flips the script, because the dad and his daughter, their relationship, he's there to protect her. He didn't want to put her in these situations. And it's the exact opposite of how his father treated him. And I was like, oh, so fascinating. I really like that aspect of it. Really fascinating. But I was like, I kind of would like to have seen, his dad take on the other werewolf, right? Because that has to mean that he encountered the original werewolf. He killed the original werewolf. It infected him. And then he became Wolfman, stuck in those woods for all of those years. I don't know if it was, because he said he left his dad when he was old enough. So that had to be, 18 years old, 17, 18? And then it was like, okay, 30 years later, whatever. So was his dad Wolfman for like 15 years? That I would have liked a little bit more explanation on, It was fascinating to me because when both of the Wolfmans were going at it, I was so intrigued, especially their first matchup, right? When the dad was go to the house to his wife and daughter, they escape or whatever, and he leaves the other, he leaves the Wolfman, away into the woods, and you hear them fighting or whatever, and then you see the dad come back, and he's slowly, almost there to that final transformation. I was like, that's it? I was like, what? You're gonna kill this other Wolfman off screen? I was low-key heated. I was like, nah, they did not just do that. But then slowly but surely, the other Wolfman comes back and, he attacks, the dad or whatever. And, they end up scrapping and then he ends up killing his own father because of that tattoo. That's the only reason why we knew that it was his dad, was that, that tattoo his dad had on his forearm, which was fascinating to me. It was like, oh man, so if they would have gone full-blown transformation and he doesn't necessarily transform back to his human form, we would have never known that was his father. So I was like, that's fascinating. Interesting. But there were some really gruesome moments, when he was upstairs with his wife and daughter, and he's like, I can't understand you, and she's like, oh, your arm is bleeding, and she unravels it, and it's just nothing but flesh, and he starts gnawing at it. I was like, oh shit, this is disgusting. I was like, this is absolutely just nasty. I was so grossed out. I think that part was probably the most gruesome part of the film for me. It was gross. And then of course the part, when he actually fully transforms, right? I love the whole, I love the fact that he was still intact with his human emotionality. So he still understood that this is my wife, this is my daughter. So he would go in his wolf phase and then kind of calm down and go back. And he's like, okay, I got to go outside. I got to get away from you guys. Because I know what's coming next. I'm going to fully transform. So when he fully transformed, that was it, dude. And I was like, oh man, he's going to end up killing his family. But, they ended up escaping or whatever. And that scene was so fascinating to me that in the dark, you literally cannot see this man at all. None. And I was like, oh my God. But he can see everything around him because from his perspective, everything is bright. Everything is on 10. So he can see you. So there were scenes where she's and he's just right there I was like, oh shit, this is absolutely terrifying. And then, in the barn, he gets his leg caught in the bear trap, which was absolutely just gruesome. Ends up, eating his own leg off. I was like, oh, this is crazy, And then I really enjoyed the aspect of the daughter and father relationship because at the end of the film, he goes full-blown wolf. He's missing a leg, and he's just, all on his hands and knees, just crawling after him and roaring and screaming. And there's this moment between the father and daughter where it's like, they've always had this moment in the film where he always asks her, what am I thinking? And she was like, at the end of the movie, he wants it to end. The pain, the misery, the curse, the infection, whatever you want to call it. And, the mom ended up killing her husband. The end of the Wolfman. And that's it. I was like, oh, shit. Okay, so there is no continuation. We still don't know what happened to the other guy, his childhood friend, who was missing an arm. We don't know if he's dead. He could just be missing an arm and slowly transforming into a Wolfman in those woods, which is fascinating to me if they wanted to do a sequel. But this kind of seems like a one and done thing. But all in all, I enjoyed Wolfman. I enjoyed it. I give it a 7 out of 10. The cinematography was absolutely stunning. The sound editing was absolutely, sound design was absolutely like not memorizing, but stimulating to the ears because, you felt like you were in the house with them. It was really, really good. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Have you seen Wolfman? And if you do, what are your thoughts on the film? We're talking spoilers, so feel free, spoil ahead, you guys. If you haven't seen it, why are you watching this video if you haven't seen it? Or you don't care about spoilers, you just wanted my review. I appreciate you. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And of course, thank you guys for taking time out of your day for watching Zero Productions. Peace.